wires, we really need to be able to steer without trauma to the collaterals through the tortuosity, and only rarely CTO wires are needed. Sometimes we can perform antegrade, retrograde wire and balloon passage, but oftentimes the balloon passage is very difficult, and we can only cross from antegrade to retrograde with a wire, and then the balloon passage is performed antegrade, the wire making a track for a second guide wire that will come antegrade. I will show you some examples. First one is a retrograde organization using the wire and balloon across the pedal arch. This is a patient with a failed attempt at antegrade reorganization of the anterior tibial artery, and you can see the diagnostic angiogram. On this slide, you can see the occlusion of a couple of centimeters of the anterior tibial artery, a tibial-perineal trunk and perineal artery that are quite good, and a very short segment of the posterior tibial artery that is patent, and then distally the situation is relatively bad, but there is a plantar circulation, and there's also a sign of perfusion of the dorsalis pedis. So now the posterior tibial artery is the first target. You can see the crossing of the wire making a loop which helps in staying intraluminal. You can see the loop being formed, and then with a microcatheter or a balloon catheter in this case, you can see that you can dissect in an intraluminal way with the loop all the way down into the posterior tibial artery and into the plantar artery, as you can see here. You can see the crossing of the wire across the pedal arch, and then space is made by inflating the balloon in the distal part of the lateral plantar artery across the pedal arch and the distal part of the dorsalis pedis, as you can see here. Of course, in these cases, it's always better to have a double outflow. We now have recanalized the posterior tibial artery, but it would also be nice to have a direct flow through the anterior tibial artery to have perfusion of the forefoot from two major arteries. So in this case, the wire is advanced more towards proximal with the support of a balloon catheter or a microcatheter. You can see here at the top, at a certain point, also the diagnostic catheter being still in place. It can be used as a support catheter using a coaxial system. And then here you can see after removal of the diagnostic catheter, after the crossing of the wire, a 4 French sheath with a 014 wire still inside. This allows you to go back down again with the diagnostic catheter after removal of the microcatheter in a situation like this. One guide wire and then a second guide wire can be put in the diagnostic catheter, as you can see here. And now the track that has been made by the first guide wire and the microcatheter coming across the pedal arch can be used to recanalize in an antegrade fashion. Then subsequently, the wire is advanced distally. You can see the connection being made now here. The microcatheter and the diagnostic catheter on the first wire has been removed, as I said, and now we have a microcatheter, balloon catheter in this case. It's going all the way down next to the 014, and this all fits through a 4 French sheath. Then balloon angioplasty is performed of the posterior tibial artery, as you can see, of the pedal arch and of the anterior tibial artery, and this is the final angiographic outcome. So now we have dual flow and better perfusion of the forefoot. Oftentimes it's not really a feasible to get the balloon through the collateral pedal arch is relatively easy, because this is a large artery, but sometimes the collaterals are very small, and those are things that you don't want to damage, of course. Here, therefore, a case where the wire only was used to create the passage, and then subsequently the procedure was terminated by using an integrated approach, using the wire as a track. This is a patient with rest pain. You can see a very bad outflow distally. There was a failed integrated regularization of the posterior and anterior tibial artery. You can see that there are patent in the first segment, but distally it was not possible to reconnect. However, there is a large perineal artery with this collateral that in the end goes towards the plantar circulation. You can see that this is a very tortuous tract. In a different projection, you see this corkscrew appearance, and you can clearly identify now in a different projection that there is a connection with the distal part of the plantar artery. So in this case, a microcatheter was not used initially. A Amala XT 2 millimeter, 2 centimeter long balloon was used together with a guide wire, navigational guide wire, Thermo GT Gold.